What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope you're doing well. My name is Lawton Ho here with Verified Investing, and I go live every single day that the markets are open from, that was weird. That was weird. Camera just moved. From 12:30 to 1:15 to answer your questions. I hope you guys have um, a great day so far. While you're here, I just want to remind you to please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps us with the algorithms and helps this show grow. Make sure to share it with your friends, family, dog, cat, bird, whoever you want, neighbor. But anyways, guys, the way this works, as always, is you ask questions and I give answers. You can ask questions by scanning this QR code down below or visiting the verifiedinvesting.com homepage and clicking that watch and ask button right down there. With that being said, what questions do you guys have for me today? Just to go over the markets. The markets are kind of muted. We have a Fed decision tomorrow. We're expected to get a cut. So let's see. So if you take a look, S&P not really doing anything. Gapped up a little slightly, but is come in a bit and is now just slightly negative. Not much of a move. Taking a look at NVIDIA. Yeah, NVIDIA is down a bit. Big news is on Oracle, right? Oracle initially opened up much decently higher, 4% higher, and pushed up an additional all the way up to 6% basically off of news that they would not only that their price target was raised, but also that they are going to own TikTok, right? They're getting ownership of TikTok, I believe. But they came in and are looking to potentially actually go negative, right? China hasn't agreed to the TikTok deal yet, but this is all speculative. So we'll see. See what happens. In other news, Robinhood had a nice push up. They're going to potentially start allowing people to short sell. So you might see shorting soon on Robinhood. Who knows? The other stock that moved a bit intraday, we took a look at Hims, had a huge sell-off today. It initially gapped up about 7%, but fell quickly, down about 10% from the open. Question is, where/why did it fall? You see here some news or something came out. Sold about 5%. Had a nice rebound, 5% higher, and continued to sell about 3% lower. I'm not quite sure what the news was. Yeah, okay. The US FDA warns misleading weight loss drug claims. Yeah, this is something that Hims and Hers has been dealing with over and over again. The FDA and its regulation, and it's like weight loss drugs. So 100% absolutely. With that being said, what questions do you guys have for me today? Nathan says, good morning. Lawton stocks has fallen a bit, but seems to be clawing back. I bought at the dip, but it's making me nervous. Where the chart's telling you now is $9 still your target. Yes, it is. We got to look at the SOXX when we're charting the XOXS. And these are the levels of resistance that I actually have on the SOXX. I think my max upside, I would be surprised if we went, even 4% higher, but that's my max upside for the SOXX, which is what the XOXS trades off of. But it's having a bit of a sell today, right? Down about 2.26%, which means stocks should be up roughly 1%, or no, 0.3%, excuse me, only slightly. Next question. Ryan says, good morning, Lawton. What's up, Ryan? Could you provide your support levels for NWL? Absolutely, I'd be happy to. NWL, Newell Brands, not really that much of a mover, in my opinion. But I still should be able to provide some levels of support for you. Let's zoom out for like a buy. These are levels of support. Here's what you want to watch out for, though. Right before going long Newell, what you could see is the formation of a head and shoulders pattern. Of course, this right shoulder hasn't formed yet, but this is something that I would watch out for. Particularly if you see this shoulder start being formed, I would be weary of that. Lynn says, thank you a lot for your AMA's time. Absolutely, Lynn. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. It's quite helpful. Today, did Hood break out of a bullish flag? What is the next swing trade short level? Yeah, so they're going to potentially short. And when you're talking about a potential bull flag, let me go ahead and delete this. You're talking about something like this, right? And this could be the beginning of the formation of a bull flag, but it's only like three candles, right? So I don't think it's long enough to say that it's broken up and out of. For me, my shortable level, I would just look at this double top, really 124, basically 5% higher. I also have a target over here around 132, wherever this trend line is. I'll show you how I got that trend line. This kind of upsloping trend line for this previous all-time high to this previous all-time high. I would short on a third hit of that upsloping trend line. Favors a pullback from it. That's the main area that I'm targeting on Robinhood for a potential short. Scott says, hello, Lawton. Where do you see the VXX and SDS in a week? Dude, I can't. I'm not a fortune teller. I would say that the VXX favors a move higher, 36.44 to 37.40. Like it favors a move up to there, but unless we see a general market pullback, yeah, it's tough to say. It's really difficult for me to tell you where these things are going to be in a week. Like if I was a fortune teller, I would not be here. I would spend all my money sports betting and then make $1 bajillion dollars. Same thing with winning the lottery, Powerball. But yeah. Usama says, can you look at SYSS? I don't have SYSS. Maybe try a different ticker, Usama. Cool Buddy says, hey, Lon, where do you look for an enter long on Sentinel-1 and SMCI? Absolutely. Lower end of its charts. Personally, I would enter long here. 1642 is a good entry. 1630 and 1580. These three levels are 8%, 9%, and 12% lower is where I'm anticipating a bounce on Sentinel-1. You can take a picture of this, screenshot, whatever you want to do. But those are going to be your levels for long on Sentinel-1. On SMCI, SMCI is a little trickier. For a long position, you could just use these low pivots. This gap fill about 11% lower. You could consider entering here. But SMCI could definitely continue to fall. It's a little bit riskier than Sentinel 1. But these are my levels for longs, $40, $33, and $32. Jonathan says, hey, Lon, how's it going? It's doing not too bad, Jonathan. Hope you're doing well. What do you think about Bit Farms? It's had a great run in the last few weeks. How do you think it can go in the short term? Yeah, this is a small cap company that's moved up significantly, about 120%. I'll tell you where I'm expecting a pullback on it. Not that it has to reach there, and not that I would absolutely go long into it. You have a gap fill here around $2.88. And then you have a pivot high around 315. You saw it hit that gap fill and then pulled back, right? Pulled back decent amount, right? A couple percent off of that first level. So we know that these gap fills are going to be working well. It should, not that it will, respect these pivots as well. So around 315 to 328, I expect a pullback on BitF. Antonio says, congrats on the 5K win to the team. Thank you. Wanted to know, when you go short or long, do you do it by options or comments? We when we short something or go long, we don't use options or anything like that. We just go long or short the stock themselves with actual shares. Usama says, sorry, I meant SSYS. No problem. So I'm taking a look at SSYS. You didn't really give me too much more to work with other than the name of the ticker. Wasn't sure if there was any specific particular, analysis you were looking for here. Of course, have this upsloping trend line that you are starting to break now. There's a couple more downsloping trend lines or upsloping trend lines, pardon me, that you could likely draw. Like this, right? But you are breaking down from that one. That does seem decent. That does favor a downside move. So it would not be surprising if we fell down and fell like 10% from this current level. If it can close below and confirm. Jonathan says, can you tell me the difference between logarithmic and regular charts and trading views? So logarithmic. So when I look at a chart like this, let's take a look at NVIDIA, right? There are a couple settings you can have on your charts. I think it's, I don't know where the setting is because I don't have it enabled. But it's basically like, okay, you see the price action, right? $20 is down here and 175 is up there. And this huge move is 766%. A move from here to here, even though it's small, right, is 52%, right? But a move from here to here, which is bigger on the chart, is about 35%. And the other setting for your chart, adjust for that. Let me figure out where it is. I don't use it, but I would be happy to put it in if I can figure out how to do it. Hold on. One second, guys. Let me figure it out. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to figure out how to do this. I don't do this. I don't generally do this. Let me see. Maybe like this. Alt L. Okay, there it is. So this is a logarithmic chart, I believe. So everything is to scale. I believe this move should be 30%. Like it looks different. I like it's difficult for me to explain, but each move is like scaled to by percentage rather than like this scaled by price. Like this is 100% move, but so is this, and of course this is a lot bigger, right? And if you switch it like this, the 100% move is going to be the same. Like it's going to measure the same on the charts. Sorry, that was a really, really confusing way for me to explain it, but that's the difference between the two charts. I don't really use logarithmic charts or whatever is not this default one. I apologize for my confusion, guys. I confused myself even. Geez. Justin says, where do you think URA could pull back if we get a market sell-off? The URA has gone really high up. It actually hit my shortable level. $45.90 was that shortable level, and I'll show you how I got it. $45.90, if you scroll in a little bit, is the pivot high all the way from January of 2013. I expected some resistance there. So you did hit it and you did pull back. If you want to know how much you could expect in a market pullback, just look here. URA fell 21% during the Liberation Day lows. So if the markets roll over significantly, even more than say before, then I would expect a move. It could fall, not that it will, but like upwards of 30%. Uranium has been on a massive run, basically straight up almost 132% since those Liberation Day lows. So it would not surprise me if we had a nice fall on that, Justin. But again, it would have to be a real correction. Michelle says your thoughts and near-term target on AVAX. So we had a head and shoulders pattern that failed, right? Failed to break. It's now continuing higher. Could be putting in almost like a bullish flag, right? Favoring a move higher. For me on this, I would have to look at. Let's check out Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin is kind of an up move, kind of almost bull flagging, right? Favoring a move higher, right? So if Bitcoin does continue higher, say Bitcoin gets to 120, 120, it would not surprise me if AVAX continued its run and went up. I'd probably target, 10 to 13% higher, right? If it continues up. But let's say Bitcoin begins to fall. AVAX is likely coming down, retracing to this trend line. You see there's tons and tons of price action around there. Back down basically 14%-ish. Scott says, thoughts on STZ, Constellation Brands? Yes, I'd be happy to. Let's take a look at STZ, Constellation Brands. It's kind of down in the dumps, right? Yeah, this company is not doing too well. Of course, you have a gap fill all the way back from there. And then you have what I believe are the COVID lows. Yeah, the COVID lows at 103. So for me on Constellation Brands, this is where I'm anticipating a bounce. Potentially would start a position long, just about 2% lower, around $131.75. And would have major support here, basically on a pierce of 104. But you have to realize that the stock could go lower, right? It's gone down in a straight line, does favor a bounce, but what you don't want to see is kind of sideways up consolidation like this. If you're long or considering going long, you don't want to see this because that favors a move lower because it could be a bear flag, right? But should it get closer to here, I might actually inch in. I might buy some actually. So I'll set some alerts. I do really like this gap fill around 132 Pierce, essentially. Jonathan says, what's your view on the UPS stock? Your average price is $86.73. I bought a few times to get my average down, but the stocks keep dropping. Is it the tariffs affecting the price? Thank you for advice. Absolutely. My level of support on UPS was basically Pierce of 82. Hit that and bounced. I don't think your average is too bad at 86.73. I'm currently long UPS as well, but it's had a nice bounce. It's hard for me to explain why, why UPS is down, right? But you're talking about amazing, amazing levels. You're looking at levels from COVID. It's nearing its COVID lows, right? That was the lowest. Literally, when people stopped going to the post office and stopped doing stuff, UPS was at its lowest around there. So you're definitely anticipating a great bounce now. Of course, when you get in the money to break even, you're always able to take some off the table. If it continues down, I have more support, like $70 range. Hopefully it doesn't come down there because I am already long. But you have plenty of levels of support for UPS. UPS is a dividend paying stock. So even if it went against you, I think this is one that I'd be comfortable holding just because it pays you out over time for holding it, right? It's a good company. It's UPS, right? Like UPS is most likely not going to go under, right? This is a strong, reputable name, household name. So less likely for them to fall, Jonathan. But tariffs could be affecting it, right? People don't want to ship things anymore, looking for different alternative methods of transportation for it. Usama says, how are we feeling about GameStop, GME? With the issue of warrants, will it cause another squeeze? Hard for me to say, right? The last squeeze was not because of warrants or anything. The last squeeze was just because retail just hopped into it. There is a gap fill here at $28.53 if GameStop does push up. That is a potential area for a pullback. I would say intraday rather than, I wouldn't particularly expect that much of a pullback. You have a decent pullback, but you could continue higher, right? That's more of a day trade or short-term trade level. Right? You have another gap fill around $30. I mean, essentially, right? GameStop came down off of poor earnings, kind of sideways consolidated, right? Just kind of sat there and actually is pumping up off of the back of new earnings. So I'm not totally sure what you mean by the warrants or whether or not they will cause a squeeze. What are the questions you guys have for me? Sarah says, great, Lawton. What's up, Sarah? Thanks for being here. Is this a bull trap or a bull flag touching back to the scene of the crime? Let's take a look. So this pattern, this is basically the pattern you're drawing here on XLM. Let's delete this. Let's delete this. Essentially something like this, correct? Even more like this, you're saying. For me, what I would say this could just be a breakout and a retrace. I would say down sloping trend line, breakout, retrace, and now favors move higher. So this could be a great place to enter long, favoring a move around 10+% higher, I would say. But if we gotta look at the rest of the chart, yeah, it was at its highs. It's down from its recent highs, down about 25%. So you're definitely anticipating a move higher rather than lower, right? What other questions do you guys have for me? Just got an alert on Wendy's, as you see on my screen. I wonder what's happening with Wendy's. Wendy's coming down a bit. Not quite sure where that level came from, but let's see on the day. Is that a gap fill? Nope, that's just nothing. Wendy's piercing $9.50. Let's see here. Dividend. High here. Sorry guys, I'm just charting Wendy's. I mean, I'm just looking for levels that this could potentially catch a bid. And to do that, we always go back and look at historical data. Let's see. Maybe at the $9 level, you could be consider being a buyer here on Wendy's. 14% lower essentially from your break even. Sarah says, thanks, Lon. Is this a valid inverse head and shoulders? Absolutely. I'd be happy to take a look at this. See what you got. On XRP, I might actually be in XRP already, so I don't want to give away that trade. Let's do this one. Yeah, on XRP, I have this. This is my chart on XRP. I have this wedge in XRP. I'm just trying to look at your chart, Sarah. That inverse head and shoulders does look valid. Yes, it does. But generally, a rule of thumb is on head and shoulders patterns, you want your shoulders to be bigger than just one candle, right? So I don't know how much I love that. But I do really like this kind of wedge pattern here on XRP. You had a perfect breakout, retrace, and breakout candidate here. It's already back up, 3.5% from its from that retrace of the down sloping trend line. The upper trend line of XRP favors a move higher. Definitely. 100% favors a move higher. What are the questions you guys have for me today? I feel like everyone's kind of quiet today. We have about 15 minutes left in today's AMA. And in case you guys didn't hear on Friday, the announcement is that we're going to be changing up the format of the AMA. We're still going to do it from 12:30 to 1:15, but I'm going to have a host. Her name is Liz. She's going to just feed me questions. And we're going to start off the first 5 to 10 minutes talking about something that we believe is important for all traders to learn. So, for example, one time we might talking about the importance of trading stop loss, 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 of like how to put a stop, where you should stop out of a trade. We can also have a conversation about the best place, like how to play a retrace, right? The best way to measure a move, right, for a head and shoulders pattern. Um, the quickest way to identify different patterns on a chart to potentially trade. Um, yeah, Sarah says, hi, Lon. How do you hedge against falling US dollar? Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't think I have a great answer for you. Um, in my opinion, like from what I've heard, when things are falling, right, people just usually put their money into gold. Gold is something that has gone up pretty significantly, right? Pretty like consistently, significantly and consistently, right? even though, even in the COVID lows, right, we had a great move up. Um, Even when the world was on hold, we only saw a drop like here, this is the March. Yeah, we only saw a drop on gold about 14-15%, right? When the market saw an even greater drop. And gold continues to run. So that's how I would hedge. You can also buy other currencies. If you believe in the euro, you can buy the euro. But that's one way to do it. Jonathan says, thanks for answering all my questions today. Much appreciated. You're welcome, of course. What is your short term prices for NVO? So NVO, Novo Nordisk. These guys are the creators of Ozempic, I believe. So they did have earnings, and then a dividend was paid, and they're up basically 29% off of their earnings. Like, this doesn't look like a huge move, but it is for a company like NVO that can move so significantly in a short amount of time. That's how all these pharmaceutical companies are. For me, on Novo Nordisk, if it came down here basically at $52, I'd consider buying. Right, you have this kind of bottoming tail. Right, so you don't want to see this get negated, but that level could be a good level for an entry around $52.34. But you're welcome, Jonathan. Thank you so much for asking questions. But yeah, on Novo Nordisk, if I scroll back a little bit further out and look for additional levels on NVO, maybe around $36, I could be a buyer. I could be convinced to nibble for sure around a break of 32, and for sure over here around $25. But these are my levels on Novo Nordisk to potentially buy the stock. Should have come back down. But yeah, that's the thing about pharmaceuticals, right? They're boom or bust. They can move up like 30% or go down 30% just based off of small information like their drug trials, etc., etc. So it depends. But anyways, yeah, next week Liz and I will be on here. It should be a fun show. And I know I usually don't get the opportunity to answer everybody's questions, but um, I'm gonna probably be answering a little bit less. But I think it should be a good format and pretty enjoyable. Of course, like if it doesn't work out, if you guys don't enjoy that sort of format, we can always switch back to this format. But you know, I mean, yeah. Jonathan says, I've been a member of Smart Money Stocks and ETFs for about 3 months now and slightly longer on the Trade Alerts Explorer. Awesome. I can highly recommend these, especially the smart money stocks and ETFs. I'm making as much money trading per month as my job pays me and hoping to do trading full time soon. I can't thank the Verified Investing team enough. Thank you to you all. Regards, Jonathan. Thanks so much for the kind words, Jonathan. I really appreciate that. Yeah. And here's the thing about trading, right? Trading is so great because you like the requirements, like, yes, you need some sort of money to start with, but like when you learn how to trade, when you learn how to read charts and all these things, your potential is like, you know what I mean? Through the roof. These are skills that you're going to be able to learn and keep with you, for the foreseeable future. No one can, like, my parents always told me that education, the things that you learn, nothing can take that away from you. And in regards to trading, it doesn't matter if you went to college or not. It doesn't matter if you have a finance degree. It doesn't matter, where you came from, how old you are. Like, I'm going to be doing this when I'm like 70, right? There's no barriers. It's just you and the markets. As long as you got a computer, you can trade. That's awesome to hear, Jonathan. Congratulations, and I'm so happy that we can play a small part in that. Um, Andrew says, is CRM forming head and shoulders? Looking at the 3-year chart. I don't even know if I have that. You mean like this? Yeah, okay. Yes, it is. 100% absolutely. You're talking about this, right? Massive, massive head and shoulders pattern here on Salesforce on the daily. And would you look at this? Let's just first figure out this measured move. Okay, so how far could CRM fall should this break to the downside? Let's see. That would be a move down about 60%. Do I think CRM is going to fall 60, 61%? No, I don't think so. But let's take a closer look and hone in. So CRM, try to break this down here. Broke down, but then came back up and trying to make its way down. What we want to see is a close below and then confirmation, and then maybe we'll see 20-ish% on CRM, which still would be a big move for a company that's worth, $230 billion as of now. Michelle says, hi, Lawton. What's up, Michelle? What's your upper target for this? The Swiss franc? I don't have an upper target, to be honest, but I can take a look for you. Yeah, for me, this is where we're looking at. Let's find out here. This is another thing, like it should. I don't really trade Forex, but taking a look at this, these are levels that you could see a pullback in the Swiss francs. I'm looking about 5% higher for my upside target, around $1.34, 1.34. Nancy says, "Hi Lawton, what's up? I've attached my MNT USDT chart. Thinking you the measure move, is it correct? Appreciate it. Absolutely. Let's take a look." Yes, 100%. That is correct. I love that chart. Looks good. But I would say that this does favor a pullback. Let's take a look. I definitely think that this favors a pullback. You're trading near or at highs. I could be wrong, right? You could say, oh, it's putting in bull flag here. It's going to go higher, which it very well could. But for me, how high it's gone, basically 50% in like a week, right? I am expecting a pullback in this. Brewski said, "Good afternoon, Lon. 50% of my portfolio is in EMB for 3 years, almost 8% dividends. Is it worth holding on it or try to cash out and wait for a pullback?" Wow, 50% of your portfolio. I mean, great job. You're getting closer to the highs, right? Here's what I'll say. There should be really, really great resistance right here at $50.42. Depends if you need the money now, but look at this. Like, you've kind of pushed up so significantly as of late. And you're kind of teetering, right? You're teetering on this upsloping trend line, just waiting for this to break, waiting for this to fall, waiting for this to fall. Granted, if it falls, you're likely only going to see 5 to 7% of downside. So not too terribly bad, but $50.42. There's a beautiful gap fill there. So just depends. How much do you want that extra 3%? If you want that 3%, yeah, hold on for that 3%. But if you don't need that 3%, if you're happy with what you got now, you could always put a trailing stop. Be like, all right, I have a stop at $50, $48.50. If it does break down from here and then come down here, whatever, so be it. I'm out. I already made a crap ton of money. Congratulations to you, Brewski. You're welcome. Thank you so much for your question. That could be the level on EMB, but wow, amazing job. Amazing job holding EMB. Really great job. All right, guys, it's 1:13. I have about 2 minutes left. If you have any final questions, please send them my way. If not, it is okay. We're just going to hang out for a little bit longer and see if anything is moving. I know Tesla pushed up after it was announced he bought back $1 billion worth of Tesla. Came down and pushed even higher. I know AVGO, Broadcom, somehow a bigger company than Tesla, absolutely insane, has crushed all my levels of resistance. This thing is just a beast. So let's see if we can have a daily pattern form for another pullback. I mean, this is a stock that I'm surprised that it's worth so much money. When AMD is all the way down here. Apple did release its new iPhone and still quite a ways down from its highs of its chart. Still trading down about 8% from the highs of the chart. I'm looking for resistance on Apple around 3% higher, around $247 basically is where I'm looking for resistance on Apple. All right. All right, guys, if that's it, this is where I am going to call it, guys. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking and subscribing, sharing this with your friends and family. Really appreciate it. Michelle says, wondering why I use IBKR rather than Schwab. I use Schwab. I use Thinkorswim. Gareth and Ben use IBKR, and the reason is because they're used to the way the level 2 data is just displayed on the screen. So it's not one or the other, right? It's just preference. But I use Thinkorswim through Schwab, and Gareth and Ben use IBKR. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Lawton Ho here with Verified Investing. I do this every single day. The markets are open from 12:30 to 1:15. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop them in my Twitter notifications. My Twitter handle is @Lawton Investing. My name followed by the word investing. Go ahead and send me a DM, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have. All right. With that being said, guys, have a great rest of your day. Happy Tuesday. Take it easy. The markets are sleeping, waiting for the Fed decision tomorrow. But hopefully we have a little more action tomorrow. Have a great day, guys. Thank you all. And I'll throw this off to myself talking about Kinesis. Hey guys, Lawton here with Verified Investing, back with another video from Kinesis. Thank you so much to Kinesis for sponsoring this video. So going on to the homepage, you can see that I'm logged in to Kinesis.money, and I want to highlight something I really think is cool. You guys know that I'm a trader, a pro trader here at Verified Investing. And did you know Kinesis gives you another way to trade? That's right. You're able to directly trade on the Kinesis platform and earn physical gold and silver while doing so. You can see here their trading platform and their charting platform is actually integrated with TradingView. That means the same charts that I'm used to using, that Gareth is used to using, that all of us here at Verified Investing are totally accessible for you to use. So this is a seamless transition if you want to chart on here. You can even see the order books and the history, right? So if I want to put in a trade, I can put in the price in USD or the amount in KAU as one of their pairings. I can set a limit order, stop limit, trailing stop, whatever I want here. And I can do good till cancel or fill or kill or whatever else I need. Additionally, I can see all of my orders down here. Going on the left side, I can see all the different pairings that Kinesis has on their exchange, such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. Really, really cool. So not only is it a platform that lets you earn money and earn physical gold for doing anything, if you're trading cryptocurrency anyways, Kinesis could be an option for you as well. Kinesis is really cool, and there's way too much just to talk about in one video. But if you want to learn more about Kinesis, go ahead and check them out in the link in the description. Thank you so much to Kinesis for sponsoring this video, and see you guys next time.